Hey folks, welcome. Good evening to another money space with me, Kalu Aja. On this space, of course, we're talking money, the economy, and finance, personal finance, and we're always talking about how you can be a better investor. What are the opportunities? From a Nigerian perspective, of course, sometimes we do extend it out to other regions, but usually from Nigeria. Today, we're talking real estate. We're expanding our investment horizon because, of course, there's record inflation in Nigeria, about 33, 34%. That's headline. So we're always looking for ways or opportunities or asset classes where we can invest funds and get a real return. And of course, real estate is one of them in Nigeria that we can actually put money in. We get that capital appreciation plus the dividends, i.e., the rental income. So it's always an opportunity when we see folks that are doing real estate successfully in Nigeria that we bring them in so we can talk to them and we can learn. These guys are from, of course, Reality. They've been on this space, I would say, two or three times. Their base is really short-term rentals. They've done that successfully. I've known them for like, I'll say 2 or 3 years, call them friends as well. And I like to bring them up because they are really doing they're getting their hands, to say, dirty in that space, and they have a lot of experience that they can basically share with us. So I brought them in to talk about doing real estate investment and doing it right in Nigeria. They are both here. I've got Adebolu Mayowa. I've got Adenubi Oladayo. Hey guys, you guys want to unmute? Do that introduction yourselves, and then let's just take it from there. Go ahead, sirs.
Good evening, Carlo. It's been a while. We
Yeah.
the last time we were here was, I think, last year,
Mhm.
and a lot has happened. Hello, guys. My name is Sadibul Maiwa, and I'm the CEO of Asset House. So Dayo, maybe you should do a little introduction as well.
Thank you very much, Carlo, for having us. It's a pleasure to be here again. My name is Dio Adenbi. I lead the finance and function at Asset House Limited. Thank you.
Great, great. Welcome, guys. And Acid House is still relative. I should remember you guys with the other name, right? It's still the same, just for folks that
Yes.
are following. Still the same name. Excellent. All right. So, like I said, I knew you guys were doing this very innovative real estate. What you guys do was to get a house and sort of convert that house and do short-term rentals. But I can invest in that property and I get a share of the short-term rentals. The value proposition is, of course, is that because you are turning around your tenants faster, you are making a higher yield on that same property. Like if I was going to buy that property and rent it out, it would be for 2 years, but you guys are turning it around faster, so you make a higher yield for me. Do I get that description right about what you guys do?
Yes.
All right, you want to talk more about it?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
I think I lost Bolu. Were you speaking? I think I didn't hear you come through. Were you speaking?
I don't know, probably the network, but it will join later. So maybe I should just sort of like take it from there.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
for it.
You're right. When we initially started, we gave this opportunity to people to sort of like invest in these units without sort of like putting down this large capital outlay. So we actually were also not buying
I think I lost him as well.
out the
Think I'm losing my
Okay.
folks.
Yeah. So Carlo, you muted me. I was trying to signal you.
Oh, go ahead. I didn't. Yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
Okay. Yeah. So I was saying that you sort of giving everyone the introduction. So I just go straight to the value proposition and the area that we play specifically. So you remember in 2022 when we came to the space that time, and the model wasn't really. We just started the business, right? So because Nigeria usually you can't really do any real estate investments in Nigeria without significant capital. So the time that we had the space, we had the idea. We knew that short let rental was going to give more yields, but we couldn't get financing to get the land. So the only option that we had then was to lease the land rather than buying the land. So we leased the land, built shortlets, both one bed and two bed, then subleased to investors to co-own with us. Then we started a shortlet facility management company called Crestview Apartments. So Crestview single-handedly markets those apartments, manages it, then send returns to the owners of those units in the building every month. And for the past 15 months, we have been paying out an average of 500,000 naira monthly to all of our investors. But as we started to scale, we realized that our investors wanted more. They didn't just want to sublease those apartments for, say, 15, 25 years. They wanted to own those properties for life. They wanted to buy it outrightly. So we're able to scale and started to acquire assets. So acquiring those assets outrightly meant that rather than subleasing those units to investors, the investors would rather buy those properties from us outrightly. Then we then sign a long-term management contract with them that mandatorily allows us to market and manage those assets on their behalf under the Crestville Apartments brand, then pay them monthly, right? So ever since the last time we had a space, I think the last time we were just at Ilupeju, but at the moment we're at Ilupeju, Surulere, Lekki, Ikeja, and Antony. So I've been able to expand significantly. But our first two projects have been on a lease. But as I speak with you right now, all of our other projects on the pipeline, investors are buying those apartments outrightly, and we're helping them manage and pay them monthly, right? Now, how have we
Interesting.
been able to? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, so we have been able to sort of like structure a system that optimizes the returns to the investors. How? We average all the returns. So we have a building that has, say, 20 units. So we sell those 20 units to 20 different investors. We manage the entire property under um, the Crestville apartment location. So if I have in Surulere, I have Crestville Surulere, and I have 20 investors from that bought in Crestville Surulere. We manage that building as a single entity, average all the returns, deduct all the expenses and capital expenditure, then pay them the balance monthly. And the model has quite been successful. I think we've had about 7 or 8 of your followers that have enjoyed these dividends over the past 15 months. And, you know, they've been our returning customers. At the moment now, we have in
Wow.
Ikeja that we're currently selling and another one in Antony. So the idea right now is the service apartments now has become a localized product. So, because the first two locations were not in a very suitable part of Lagos, I mean, it's not that very suitable. So we started to localize the product. So the first one has a 3-star rating. The second one has a 3.5-star rating, but the one in Ikeja and Antony would have a 5-star rating, and we are opening one in Lekki as well that will have a 4-star rating. So what does this rating do? It sort of differentiates, it allows the environment and the building determine its price point. So what that means is our shortlet apartments are very affordable to all asset classes in Nigeria. Starting from 35, you can get an apartment for 40K, 45K per night, which is still ridiculously lower than the average price for a one bed anywhere in Lagos. And you'd enjoy all the facilities that you'd enjoy anywhere. 24 hours electricity, internet, functional amenities, right? The one in Lekki, which is a bit more in terms of furnishing standard, a bit more higher, would go for the rate of say 55, 60,000. And the one in Ikeja and Antony, which would be our own 5-star project, will go within the range of 70,000. So what that means is the investors and these locations have different price points. So we don't sell those apartments at the same prices. So if the location is better, it means the cost of land would be higher and the cost of development will be higher. Of
So,
course,
so,
okay.
so I will just want to capture what you've just said. So, in the past, you were doing the lease to rent. So, if I want to invest, I don't own the apartment. I'm more or less
Yes.
leasing it from you, and I get a share of the dividends, the rental income.
Yeah. During the lease
Today,
period.
today I am buying the apartment that I'm giving it to you to manage, and this 70K, 40K you're quoting is the rentals that you make on the apartment that I own.
Yes.
Perfect. All right.
They will then accumulate all the revenue generated, not in your apartment, but an average of all the apartments in that building, take out all the expenses and pay you a dividend every month. And this dividend would vary, and the variance are dependent on the location and the unit pricing. So, I'll give an example. The one in Surulere, for an apartment that we rent out for say 40K, 45K, the investors usually would get an average of 500K. The one in Lekki to be opened, if the unit pricing is about 70,000, from the top of my head, we're looking at a return around say 650 to 700, 500 to 600 thousand naira every month.
Every
So
month.
the returns usually is always a factor of the location, the cost of development, and the
Mm.
cost of amenities that we're providing.
So if I was buying something in say the Sulere one, how much is the apartment in Sulere? How much was in Lekki? Just if I wanted to invest in this and I lived in diaspora or I had funds, how much?
Okay, the one in Surulere, they are all sold out. So the one was current, even the one in Lekki, as I speak, is sold out. We'll be running it by December. We're at the roofing stage at the moment, but we're currently selling the one at Ikeja and the one at Antoni. We have not officially launched the one in Antoni, anyways, but the one in Ikeja, if you're to buy, you're buying a one-bedroom apartment for 50 million. You're buying it outrightly, and what we're looking at is after all the expenses have been deducted, you should be earning an average of 700,000 monthly, an average of some average of 10 million naira in a year, because there are peak periods around say November, December, January. Then usually the occupancy sort of like stabilizes around 70 to 80% during other parts of the month. So you're buying an apartment of 50 million, you're getting a return around say 700K. The two-bedroom sells for 75 million. Of course, you'd expect that would charge slightly higher than what we charge for a one bed. So a one bed is going for say 70, the two bed will be going for say 100. And if you check anywhere, as I'm talking right now, online to get a two-bed service apartment in Ikeja, to be going for nothing less than 130, 140, 150. And
Mm.
that's because individuals are the ones owning those apartments and converting their own personal apartment, or they buy an apartment in a building, where they still have to pay the developer service charges and what sort. But because we have significant control over all the amenities, so we're aggregating all the expenses, we can sort of, I mean, go like 10, 15, 20% below the market rates, and get our occupancy and pay our investors. So the one bed is for 50 million with an average of say 700K monthly, while the two bed is 75 million with an average of 1,800K to a million monthly, depending on the occupancy. So it's not fixed. The
Perfect. Gotcha.
occupancy, the expenses. Now that they've moved most of our projects to band A, we're
Mm.
trying to adjust the prices to reflect, the new expenses. But I would also say that we have had a bit more light that we have had over the past 2 years. So we're still trying
Yeah.
to adjust the model to ensure that the returns still stabilizes around what we promise our investors before purchase.
Gotcha. In terms of say percentage return, just to compare this with say stocks and bonds, I'm
Okay.
looking at if I do 10 million over 50 million for the one bed, that's about 20% more or less.
Yes. So another thing about, I think Dayo would expatiate more on that, because there are different factors. We also pay monthly, right? That's one. Two, we ensure that the occupancy, when we started selling other projects, we promised a fixed return rate. But when we started, the market itself would adjust. So if we are projecting 70% occupancy, and when we start, we're able to achieve 90% occupancy, the returns jump significantly. So we can't really sort of give a fixed amount, but we already have a range model that Daya would be talking more about.
Okay. And is there like any guarantee, not up for the rentals that are going to come to me every month? If I put in the right now I'm buying, if I buy the one bed for 50 million, and is there going to be like any minimum I'm going to make every month to say, yes, this is my minimum, and then when there's a peak, I make more, something like that?
Also, so we have some clients that usually don't want to take risk. So they just tell you, oh, Maiwa, I don't want my returns jumping up and down. Can you give me a fixed return? So even if you have higher occupancy or you have lower occupancy, you get this fixed return. So we usually have that discussion with clients and we pay them a conservative return, say maybe 500,000. But there are times when the occupancy jumps, they get like 850. Sometimes they get like say 600. But if a client or an investor asks me that question, what I just do is I just forward all the returns that has been paid over the period, say like 24 months. So they can do the calculation and average how much we would possibly pay them. So we have a report. So we send investors reports and the amount that they get paid at the end of every month. So we use that average to forecast how much. So if they don't want to take risk, we can then agree, at the back. So like, okay, you know what? Let's just do 500k. So whatever upside doesn't come to you. So we just know that for this particular client, there's a fixed amount that will pay them if they don't want to participate in the upside.
So essentially, and I still own it. So I have this, I have a CFO and all that. Who has the legal paperwork and all that?
Yeah. So because the entire building is managed under a facility management company in Crestfield. And we have a lot of clients that just buy because of returns. As I'm talking to you now, we have a lot of retirees, that, I mean, they depend solely on that return. So if we don't have a strict policy that says if we have 30 units, all 30 must buy for shortlets. You can't buy for you want to live there or you want to at some point you're coming down to Nigeria, you want to be there for 3 months. If we do that, what that means is if per venture 15 or 20% of our investors want to come down to Nigeria within, say, December, what that means is our revenue drops by 30% because it's being occupied by the clients. But we've promised our investors that December is when we have peak periods, and that would affect our own promises and projections. So we usually have a strict policy that says if you own this apartment, you can stay there for 7 days without paying anything.
Mm.
And if you then extend your stay, you don't pay anything. We'll just deduct, if you're staying there for another 20 days, would accumulate the daily rates. We might not give you the market rate. We can give you a rate because you're an investor, then deduct it from your returns over time, not necessarily deducting everything from the next month's remittance. We can say, okay, we'd amortize it within 3, 4, 5 months and you pay it gradually.
Got you. Just overall, right? As an investor in Nigeria, what's your take overall? Say investing and particular real estate investing in Nigeria. I mean, there's Abuja, there's Rivers, but I'm also concerned about those off cities, the Nasarawa near Abuja, the Ibadan near Lagos. What's happening? Will the rail line help real estate in Ibadan? Well, what about Kefi? Could you just give us maybe an intro? Someone is listening here. He wants to do an investment. He's not going to come back and live here, but he wants to make that return or perhaps generate income for himself. What cities we be looking at?
So because we operate on those projects, if we had, if we were selling lands, for example, or we were selling houses for people to live, we could sort of take, as I'm talking to you right now, we're looking at having Crestville in Abuja next year. Currently, we have 6 outlets in Lagos. We planted those 6 outlets in strategic parts of Lagos: Ilupeju, Surulere, Lekki, Anthony, and Ikeja. They're all very close to the airport, aside Chevron, which is on the island. So, if we're looking at expanding, I would say Abuja is a good market. I would have said Rivers 2 years ago, but I mean the instability around the skewness of the source of income around people living there now. I mean, oil is no longer something you can bank on and create an investment opportunity for our investors, right? But for us, we're looking at Abuja and I think Imo, some parts of the southeastern part of Nigeria as well. And one other thing I would say is, I mean, flipping is also uh, an investment opportunity in Nigeria. We have had some clients that just bought off plan. They just wait and buy it when you're just starting to build. and they sell when you're done. But the risk is a lot of developers sort of mess the timeline up. They can, and inflation has really, you know, affected the business as well. You can project to spend X amount of money, and when you're done, you're realizing that you're spending almost 100% more than you budgeted, right? So for every opportunity, there's sort of like a risk attached. That's why our focus primarily has been assets that can, that can send in cash flow to our investors every month. But I think Abuja, Ibadan is coming up. But to be very honest, it's not a market that I see eating its peak in another like 3 to 4 years. So maybe when the railway is more stabilized and the youths maybe starts to run to those areas because of high rent in Lagos, then we can now start looking at that market. But right now, everyone, as I speak to you right now, wants to either move to Lagos or Abuja. And the Lagos market is still far, far ahead of any other place from our own current research at the moment.
Gotcha. So I
Yeah,
mean,
I think probably let me also just
yeah, jump
chip
in.
in there. So I think it's always very good to sort of like take a look at just like general picture, of the investment environment in Nigeria. You have to also look at one, where exactly is like the capital going to. You understand? What exactly generates economic activity? Where are all of these things, concentrated? Where are people moving to? Where are the jobs, sort of like happening? So if you look at all of that, right, you look at Nigeria's capital importation report, you look at the recent like GDP report, you look at things like where exactly the airports are, you look at things like the number of restaurant chains, all of those things, shopping malls, all of those things. And you look at all of these things all together, you aggregate all of these things together, you then think about it like, okay, what exactly all of these things are, what really forms the backbone of an economy. Okay. And then you aggregate all of that knowledge together, then you can only see that the opportunity really in Nigeria is just in a few places to really get yield. And I would also want to put it in this way. So if you, as you said earlier, previously we were just focused on maximizing like the cash flows, in the sense that we were leasing those properties. So if people were investing in those did not have access to any sort of like capital gains, right, they were only benefiting from the dividends. So now if you buy something outright, right, you know that yes, if there are economic activities happening in this place, there's some sort of like value accruing to your initial capital. So let's say you buy something for 50 million. In 10 years you expect to say, okay, even if I don't want to, own this place again, I want to move out of Nigeria, right? Or you have a need to sort of like you need your cash for something else. You want to sell something quickly. You want to exit quickly. In real estate, there's that liquidity risk, right? So all of those things are what you saw. When you look at all of those things together, you just say, well, there are only very few places in Nigeria where you can get such value for your investment, right? So whether it's Lagos, whether it's Abuja, whether it's Port Harcourt, whether it's in the the very very popular cities in the east,
Mm.
or even in the north central, in the north central, in north center, right? So when you look at all of those things together, you have a sense of where exactly should. So if you, as whether you're an investor or you're a buyer or you're even a developer, you're looking for new developments, you look at all of these things and you have to go for, because you want to make sure that you get a return on your capital as soon as possible. So really, as it is now, I would say that Lagos, Abuja is where it's happening in Nigeria.
Okay.
Most of the capital is flowing there, most of the jobs are coming up there. So that's one investment case for it. So you asked the question earlier about how exactly does this compare to other things, or I think you want to say something first, maybe before, or should
No,
I
I was just
continue?
saying that I was just looking at the calculator. 50 million naira is about, let's just call it $30,000. Is that correct? 50
Yeah.
million. Wow. So with $30,000, I can buy is that a one bed or a two bed in Nigeria? One bed or two bed?
So for our own specific projects now, I'm just looking at the old general, Lagos, Abuja, general real estate environment. I think that should get you sort of like a one bedroom apartment in most in sort of like the medium bro places,
Uh,
if I will call it that. The high bro places, that's like Ikoyi,
wow.
Lekki, Phase One. Yeah, you cannot.
So hold on.
You probably get like how
No,
like
I'm just
a
coming.
studio apartment for that
I'm just
amount.
saying. So
Yeah,
if I go to America now and I borrow
yeah,
$30,000, I can borrow that at
of course.
about below 10%. I can, if I do a HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit, I can borrow that
Okay.
amount at about 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's just say 8%, and that's for 30 years. 30
Yeah.
years. So if I take that money to Nigeria and I buy two one bedrooms, that's about 60,000 or 30,000, and you're giving me Naira revenues. I'm not going to use my Naira revenues to pay back the loan. That is going to be that exchange risk. But I do get this Naira cash flow, which I could then invest also in Nigeria, maybe in equities or something else. But it's really $30,000. I'm going to pay back 30 years. If I travel back to Nigeria, like you said, 7 days, I can stay in this place for when I'm in Nigeria, right, for the week. It does make sense if you look at it that way. It's
Yeah, of course. So let me put it this way. I think for most people, I would advise really that I don't think it would just looking at the whole environment in Nigeria,
Go ahead.
risks, the inflationary environment, and all of that. I think it would be better to when you are making like an investment in the country, you should have sort of like a longer term view and also ensure that your investments are generating cash flows. That's one.
Mm,
Then two, you're also getting that capital, capital appreciation
appreciation.
on it.
Mm,
So, and that's the
mm,
advantage of what we offer. So, for example, if you say you have $500,000, you're just hypothetically, right? So, or let's say you have $30,000, as you said, right? $30,000 today is say 50 million, right? At the rate of, there's you buy an apartment, or you say $10,000, you can use it to do anything, right? You keep that $30,000 in a money market account, right?
mm.
Getting maybe 5% on it yearly in USD, right?
Yeah.
Or you bring that and buy an asset here in Nigeria. It could be you buy land and you just allow that to you syndicate, you buy that land and then you wait for some time, maybe like 10 years or 15 years before you sell that back. Maybe over that period the price triples. That's so 50 million. Over that period it triples to 150. Now let's say over that same period the value of the naira house, so essentially you are getting just net let's say the value of the naira house. So that means that $30,000 then is now $15,000 now in
Mm,
naira, or yes, in naira, right? So it means that net the value of your investment really probably rather than 2x, you are looking at something maybe like 0.6, 0.7x, right?
mm,
So but then if you invest in something that produces those cash flows, one, over that period, you get your 150 million, right? But also the dividends that you are getting over that period, say within 10 years, depending on the yield, if it's 10%, like what we do for those who are currently like invested with us for our outright projects, are getting roughly between 10 to 12% in terms of the yield, the rental yield on that. So over those 10 years, you already get your capital, right?
mm.
Plus then that capital appreciation. So you're getting like 4x. So even if the value of Naira house, you're still getting double your investment at the end of the day. So that's the way I think people should approach investing in Naira assets,
So
right? So you have to
if
benefit.
I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
you are saying basically the Naira dividends will pay back the fixed Naira cost used to buy the house. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Exactly, exactly. Over that period, the Naira dividends will pay back that amount you bought it for. So then your capital appreciation is now, your net earnings over
Okay,
that period. So I think that's the way people should
interesting.
also. And also, I would also say that you in Nigeria or whether you are living abroad, even if you live abroad, you would have, you want to send money back home. You have people back home that you want to do things back home. Maybe you want to come for December and spend money. I don't think it would make sense for you to be selling off your dollar savings over there, right? So your naira investment should be paying for your naira
Mm,
expenses.
mm, mm,
You
mm.
understand?
That's
So
good.
even because if you say the naira is devaluing and then you are selling your dollar, it means you're already losing value. So rather than
Mhm.
that, why not just invest in something that produces cash flows in Nigeria, that produces capital gains for you, whilst keeping your dollars over there, right? And
Interesting.
then if you have an asset here in Nigeria, you can lend against it, right? You could talk to our banking partners, and you from there you grow your wealth right in Nigeria without even affecting, without even exposing yourself to whether it's the interest rate risk or inflationary risk or FX risk that's associated with all of those things. So that's just the way I see it.
Interesting. I wanted to ask a question. I want to bring Olumide just to talk about in terms of comparing this with stock market and all that. But the question was, is there a mortgage? Do I have to pay 50 million naira cash, or can I get a mortgage to buy this? Just question.
Okay, so currently we don't have any mortgage partner. Well, what we try to do is we try to allow our investors to spread their payment within the construction period. So if we're building within, say, 15 months, our investors can spread their payment within 15 months with just about 15% down payments, then spread within with an interest rate of less than 10% within that 15 months. So you're paying 55 million within 15 months, flexible. But currently,
Interesting.
at the moment, we don't have any mortgage partner.
Interesting. Do you mind me bringing in Olumide? Olumide, you've been listening, right? Olumide, I'm looking at Nigerian returns. Nominal yield, Treasury bills, 21%. 2 years bonds, 17%. 3-year bonds, 18%. Corporate bonds, 26%. Stock market, 30%. These guys are doing about 25%. What's your take, Olumide?
Interesting conversation, Carlo, and thanks for bringing me in. I listened to the gentleman. He made very interesting disposition, but I have few concerns and I wanted to ask questions. So, for me, for example, I have exposure in the Nigerian capital market, but I'm also looking at diversifying into the real estate market. And intentionally, I have little exposure in it because of the regulatory concerns. So, my first question for the speaker is like, for example, you know, um, money market, I'm getting 21% per annum. So uh, my 50 million naira investment, for example, will fetch me 10 million tax free. That's even if I'm using the FGN security. Let's even say I do more aggressive. So uh, the thing is that liquidity risk is negligible. The rate of defaulting, though we had few cases, hip-hops, the FGN saving but recently, but it's almost lead to the safest securities. So my first question is that how do I know the strength of your company, for example? Do I have access to your financials? Do you guys do investor session? Do you open your books to investors? And the Lagos State government released a data report that sent bills across the financial space that 15% of properties in Lagos are just registered. So are your businesses, your properties, are they all registered? Is there a way we can verify? Then lastly, you know, it's interesting to know that many Nigerians who have exposure to credit and liquidity, just like you rightly said that uh, the amount of money used to buy that property is not cheap. Looking at the disposable income of the average Nigerian, so do you spread cost, or are your target market the ones in diaspora, upper middle class? These are a few questions I wanted to ask.
All right. So I think your questions are sort of like bordered on different things. One, I think you talked about governance, right? Two, you talked about comparable returns with other asset classes. Then three, you talked about corporate, structure. That's like, are we registered with the government? Are we, are we following regulations and all of that? I think probably let's divide it this way. Maiwa, you probably talk about the company's registration, all of those things, and how exactly we comply with regulations as regards real estate and all of that. Then I would just take governance and comparable this thing. So I think you just start from there, and then I'll take it up after that.
All right, thank you very much. So, when we our first two projects, I don't know if you joined when we started, was a lease, right? So what that means is we didn't buy the land, so we leased the land. So the cost of acquiring those assets were very very low. So the yields were much higher. At some points, we're having yields of like say 35%, 40% in a year. That was because the cost of buying those assets were like less than one third of what the actual value was because we didn't buy those lands. But the projects that we're currently selling outrightly, because our investors would buy those properties and own it for forever, right? Or under the Land Use Act law, which says if you have a C of O, you own it for 99 years. We usually ensure that those lands have registered title. Like the one in Ikeja has a governor's consent, which can be verified, anywhere, allows her, and we ensure that we get our building approval before we commence the site. The one in Lekki, every other project that we acquired outrightly, that we acquired the land, rather than leasing from the original owners of the land, we ensured that they had either C of O's or governor's consent, and all approvals were seeked before construction commenced. Then what else again, Dio?
Yeah, I think he's now talking about governance and all of that. Maybe I should just take that. So as our companies are all registered, that's one. Two, we have a board, even though we are still quite small. We have an existing board, and I don't know, one of our directors basically owns nothing in the company, right? I would not want to sort of like expose that person because they are quite private and all of that. But that person has sort of like I think 15 to 20 years experience in the financial sector and also oil and gas sector. So we have we are compliant to the level of what you'd expect from a small business or a medium-sized business, right? That's one. Two, I think your question around comparable returns, right? So I would say this, right? One, you're investing in money market today. The yields in the money market, if you buy once, you cannot. There's no compounding for money market investments. That's one. Here we have compounding with as regards the even the earnings themselves compound. Why? Because we adjust our prices in line with inflation. So of course there's an increase that earnings and all of that. And once you invest at once, you earn those dividends for life. So it's more like you are an equity partner in this business. That's one. Two, you earn capital appreciation. So whatever you're buying has a value attached to it that increases. So, but then if you look at the money market, you only get once you get that payout, the only thing you are concerned to is the yields that are already available in the market. So let's say inflation comes down, the central bank will reduce interest rates. You won't have access to that 20% again. Okay. There was a point, I think in 2010, 2020, 2021, yields were like very low, I think about 10, 9, 10, 11%. So, those are the kind of things that you would see in, financial markets. Yields fluctuate and all of that. So, compared to this is something that once you buy at once, you get to enjoy your dividends. And this is not an equity investment in the market where things are subject to overall market conditions, whether how the company performs itself. So some companies might decide not to pay dividends this year and all of that. But you are the owner of this thing, right? So basically, we only deduct operating expenses, and whatever is left, we take a percentage of it, a fixed percentage of what is left. So you always have something at the end of the month, right? And if you say you want to sell today, in fact, I would tell you that you, as an owner you want to sell, we ourselves will buy it from you. So we have a structure in place such that the liquidity risk that's associated with real estate, regular real estate investments. I'll tell you today that if you buy land in from some of these developers in some of these other locations that I talk about, if you buy something from them, like for people there are people who have bought from them, say 2, 3 years ago that want to sell now that can't sell. In fact, they're not even picking their calls. But that doesn't happen with us because we've had people like 2 or 3 of our clients who bought from us and then 3 or 4 months later, they just came and said, yes, they want to sell, that they need cash immediately and all of that. We bought it from them, right? Yes, and then we found people to sell it immediately. Why? Because there's a lot of value attached to what we sell. So I would tell you that as regards competitively, we are far more competitive over the long term, better than whatever exposure you get. And again, if you the way financial markets are, I'm also a player in the capital markets, so I'm kind of conflicted here, but the markets are generally, I think the equity market itself has not moved since probably like February, so it's more like an arbitrage game at the moment. So if you want to make money in that market, you have to give your money to a professional manager, or you put your money in an ETF or something like that, or a mutual fund. So if you look at all of these things and then you compare that to an asset that is real, that you can see, that generates cash flows, that you can measure, you can even come there and see it every day, people move in and move out, so you know that your money is working. All right.
Yeah,
So these
I
are these are the things that these are the things
completely
that so,
agree.
so for
Yeah.
in my opinion, I think it's a very, 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 very good value
Uh,
proposition for
can
anyone.
can I add
Yeah.
something
Go
quickly?
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, very quickly. So, uh, I did mention that we send investors a report at the end of the month, right? So they would have access to the breakdown. So I'm on my phone now reading a sample report. An apartment was booked for 25 days. The total revenue generated was 900,000. Total expenses was 400,000, and return was about 555,000. So that's what they get at the end of the month. So they see the breakdown of the occupancy, they see the breakdown of the expenses, and they get their returns stated in the report. So if you want to sell, you can easily just send an email, would accumulate all the returns that you've earned so far. If you want to use it as a social proof, if you have a buyer, so you can easily say, if you buy this property the following month, you're already earning this amount. I've sent an email, and the returns will then be accrued to you monthly. That you also mentioned, we had a client that bought a unit of one bed last year for about 29 million and sold it for 40 million. And he has collected one month return before he sold. So aside the returns that you be getting monthly, when you tell anyone you want to buy, that wants to buy from you, and tell them this is what the reports that I've been getting, and these are the returns I've been earning, it's easy to sell. And also, we organize an investors forum, sort of like a meet and greet session every year. That's where we analyze the challenges, the future projections, and the strategy for the following year. So we do that every year. We also all the investors at Radisson, and we do a breakdown of everything. Then, plan for the next year ahead. Just to
Yeah.
add to what.
So what I was just going to just summarize what Lumide was saying and what you guys are saying. So if I had two options, right? Let's say I have a 2-year bond issued by the federal government of Nigeria. That's the safest investment in Nigeria. That 2-year bond is paying me about 17%. So the real yield is minus 15, right? So if I buy that bond, I get 17%, but I'm actually losing 15% because of inflation. If I buy your property, so in your property, I'm going to get 20%, which means I'm losing about 13% real. But the capital appreciation on your property is really what differentiates you from the bond. Because the bond itself, like you said, there's a reinvestment risk that the interest rate is going to change when that period runs away. But in your own case, the property value, even if it does not appreciate, it's 50 million. And again, I'm hearing you say you pay monthly revenues. So if I have that property, even if I'm not going to come to Nigeria, someone says, Uncle, school fees, this month's rent goes for school fees. Tomorrow's rent goes to Mama Emeka. I'm getting that rental. And if I come to Nigeria, probably I could also then stay there. But I like the part that you said about statements. Because with the statements, it becomes cash flow. I can
Yeah,
take that statement to a bank and monetize it.
exactly.
I can tell the bank, hey, this is my income in Nigeria. I'm making this income in Nigeria. I want to borrow money, or I want to do this, or I want to go for visa. This is income from my property, detailed month by month. So I like what I'm hearing so far. Let me get Osman. Osman, thanks for hanging on so long. Osman, please jump in, Osman. Just gonna wait for Usman a bit. If he doesn't, I'll come back to you, Adebola. Yeah, let's just come back to you guys. To you guys. Olumide, did you want to add anything to that summary I just did as regards comparing this to treasury bills?
Yeah, yeah. So I totally agree with the speakers. But you know, the only part that might be a concern for me is how you sell this project to the average Nigerian, or it seems that your target are the upper class Nigerians or the elites. Because if you look at the payment plan, for example, you mentioned about one-time payment for the Kenya property. So I'm looking at how do you guys really tap it, because this is a very interesting concept. In fact, I'm not looking at how to. I'm considering it. Looking at how to position, because naturally anything real estate, except on Carlos space, I try to run away from it, because I have a lot of friends that have um, swam with sharks and got bitten badly, and I don't want to hear that unfortunate story. Because in Europe, for example, buying property is as simple as buying a stock. I don't know why it's very difficult in Nigeria. So please, do you have a website? Then also you look at the also concerned about the naira devaluation. You know, yes, you might say that you get capital appreciation, but at the end of the day, for somebody bringing FX in, though you've advised that it's nice for people that are within the local context to really move to, it doesn't bring in that foreign exchange loss. But for Nigerians in diaspora that are looking at this opportunity, are you looking at windows where people can use that opportunity to edge, because many of us don't really have something really solid back home that can really depend. So do you have those kind of concepts in future? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Olumide. So I'll give an example. I think right now, if the banking system was right, I can tell you for a fact, no one walks into the bank with a copy of our annual report. So the annual report sort of states how much every investor was paid every month. No one walks into the bank with that report. And I see no reason why the bank shouldn't be able to loan, if you have, say, like 20% down payment. I see no reason why the bank shouldn't be, lending any of our customer that walks into the bank, because you can as well just have an agreement and say, you know what, for every return earned this month, just pay me 40% or 30%, and you pay the remaining 70% to the bank. Secondly, we have clients that couldn't afford to buy this outright when we were selling lease. So the lease was usually within the range of um, 10 million to, say, 18 million. So we had a lot of lower middle class that could afford that property, right? But right now, what we advise is people can as well peer. So we had a client that had three of his friends. They were both in Nigeria. They contributed money together and they paid the initial deposit. And at the end of the payment period, they went to the bank, created a joint account, and we sent that money to the joint account. I don't know how they share it, but that's what we also advise our investors to do. And we are also hoping that when the government can sort of open up that mortgage, I think our project would be one of the hottest in the market, because it's very direct. You're investing this amount of money and you're getting this average returns every month. And you also talked about inflation. I can tell you that some of our diaspora clients might even be converting the returns every month as a way to hedge against or reduce the risk of devaluation. So that's also an option. Or like Dayo said, you have the money in Nigeria to cater for, all your, naira needs, right? So an option is, I believe, right? I could recommend one or two banking banks that we have good relationships with, if they can sort of like help, or you can just crowdfund with two, three partners, create a joint account, and we pay to that joint account every month.
Yeah, so let me also sort of like chip in there. See, what Maya said is basically apt or okay. See, it's a very sad thing in Nigeria today. Of course, I think the biggest problem we have in Nigeria is still inflation. Without that, you can't have you can't have a thriving mortgage industry. right? People, because the interest rates on the loans will be just too high, and it won't be inclusive for the majority of the population. So that's quite sad. Maya was already giving some of the options that we give to people. I would also tell you this for a fact. We've been doing business with some banks, like regular commercial banks, for about 2 years. Okay, they've not deemed it fit. Like, they see our cash flows every day. They've not deemed it fit to even call us to say, "Oh yeah, we have this line of credit available for you." Okay, but I will tell you for a fact that an Islamic bank, they are very very strict, very very strict. If anybody here knows what an Islamic bank is, non-interest banking, they saw our numbers, right? And they immediately poached us from our commercial banks, and they're offering us this line of credit. I'll tell you, that's how strange it is, to show you how the Nigerian, banking system is quite, it's just lopsided. Okay. So there is not much we can do in that place. Of course, some guys are already doing things very interesting in the technology space, trying to fractionalize these assets. It's something that we are also looking at, sort of like in the medium to long term. Okay, but at the moment, of course, we have to do what's available, what's possible or feasible within the available capital that we have on our hands. Okay, so of course, it's something we are working on. Initially, when we started, our products were a little bit more inclusive than it is, but of course, as an organization, as a company that prioritizes very high quality development, the leases, those leases were just not as profitable for us. So we had to find a balance. I would say that in the future we're also looking to partner with some of these banks to have a record of some of our clients who already have these assets, and then they can use those assets to acquire more assets in the future. So really, it's an exciting one, but also, just the macroeconomic situation of Nigeria, the fact that there's no financialization in our real estate sector at the moment, it's a really sad thing. But then what can we do, really? So influencing policy is not, it's still the job of the larger players, and they are not, most of them are not looking at that. If you go to these guys who are building in, the Ikoyis, the who own the shopping malls, the larger shopping malls, the all of these guys who are like at the top of the food chain, they don't really care about even the upper middle class in Nigeria. Okay, so we still have products that are inclusive to the upper middle class and also the middle class, if you look at it that way. So we have clients today who, even with earnings of like, you know um 1-2 million naira in a month, can afford to do. And I think Carl also said something then, that for those who are already earning on a monthly basis, you can use those monthly earnings to dollar cost average. So you can take those monthly earnings and even invest in dollar assets, and average using dollar cost average. I think you're very familiar with dollar cost average. So this predictable cash flows also helps, and that's what some of the advantages that we're bringing into the place. So we are differentiating ourselves even within the sector. So as Mayowa said, if the fundamentals change around the macroeconomic picture today, we are open, we are positioned to actually benefit massively from that. So that's just what I would say to you. Thank you very much for that question.
All right, great. I want to get Benga in to ask the question, but let me also say that there's this new pension law that allows pensioners to use, sorry, contributors to use 25% of their RSA balance as a capital injection to get a mortgage. I'm not sure if you guys are plugged in there or if you're exploring that with the PFAs. But let me get Benga to ask the question. If you guys have that, you can also just let us know. Benga, hi,
Yeah,
what's on your mind with this?
yeah. Thanks, Carlo. Yeah, I like what I'm hearing. I also like the figure the guy is giving out. I mean, as ROI. This sounds so good. But I want to ask him, who is going to be responsible for insurance of this house? Is it going to be the investor, or they will be responsible for insurance of this house? Because it's going to be an apartment, right? So insurance in case of inferno or whatever outbreak or anything happens, who is going to be responsible? Are they going to capture that into their own account, or is going to be done by investor? That's number one. Number two, I want him to clarify to me who is going to be responsible for furnishing of the apartment, the whole accessory in the apartment. Is it going to be the investor? Is it going to be them? Number three, who is going to be responsible for
overall maintenance of the building, exterior especially, maybe painting, maintenance, general maintenance, everything. These are the three questions I would like him to help me with. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll answer the first question, and Maya will answer the remaining two. So, as regards the insurance, already we are, as you said, as we told you earlier, we aggregate the earnings. So even before the your net earnings get to you monthly as an investor, all of that has been sorted. Whether it's your insurance, whether it's the capex to fix, to maintain the building, whether it's your withholding tax, even all of those things have been deducted before you get. So we already have provisions in place, and those are the advantages of the structure we've put in place, such that if you were owning those apartments individually, it would be sort of, how would I put it, the aggregation basically helps, right? If it's in clusters like that, it won't make sense, because if, for example, you are in a building and someone is not paying their service charges, and then the landlord cannot afford to give everybody, but this time around you have one landlord or one manager who is aggregating all of this, whether it's so all of those things are taken care of before it goes to you. So of course, we have that insurance in place, and then the earnings of that building itself and the apartments all together pay for all those things individually before, so you don't have to worry about that as an investor. So as regards the furnishing, and then the maintenance of the external building and the areas and all of that, I think Maiwa would answer that.
Okay, thank you, Tayo. So, as let me start from the furnishing, right? So, our first two projects, Kalu can, I mean, I think Kalu, you would remember that we added the cost of furnishing to it,
Yep.
and one incident happened this year. First, we had one of the craziest inflation, where the money we charged for furnishing, sort of like ate into the cost of construction. Very very recently was what the project we just delivered at Surulere. We in fact we had about 40 million deficient, like we had a loss technically. Inflation sort of like, it was a lease, so it wasn't profitable. And at the end of the day, we still had to finish that project. So what we did, and we had already put in the cost of furnishing. So what we did was we had to send an email to the investors, and we told them, see, there's this extra cost. So if we are to pay you, say, 500,000 every month, we'll pay you about, say, 300, and would amortize that over, say, like 24 months. Or if you're willing to pay in bulk the cost of that extra cost of furnishing your apartment, you can pay. So because of that issue, we couldn't afford to have those. We had about 15 to 20 ACs, we had sofa chairs, and there was a time that rain fell, entered into the warehouse. It was massive for us. And secondly, usually the furnishing that is in vogue before development isn't what would be competitive after development, because we always want to stay ahead of the game. So if I plan that you should spend, say, 3 million naira to furnish a one bedroom apartment 18 months ago, because typically the project is being developed within, say, 15 to 18 months. At the point of delivery, something else is in vogue, and I've charged you for it. So it's better for us to sort of like hold down on that furnishing and just charge the basic finishing. Then 2 3 months before delivery, we send the furnishing bill, and we do it for all the investors. For some of the investors that would not be able to afford to even pay all, we come in and do it for them and deduct that returns over a specific period of time. So that's what we do as regards that. Then the third question you asked, the furnishing, the maintenance. Sorry. So now the thing is, anyone that wants to book an apartment doesn't know that you as an investor own a unit of 1 or 2 bed in Surulere or in Lekki or in Ikeja. All they know is Crestview Ikeja. If they'll give a bad review, they'll put a bad review on Crestview Ikeja's Google map, I mean Google review, which would be a dent to our own business, right? So we ourselves, the maintenance, both the exterior and the interior, is of more importance to us, because our customers, we have about 5,000 customers that come in every single year in different of our outlets, and we pay attention to their reviews, right? So we don't wait for even you as an investor to come and say that it needs maintenance before we do it, because people see it as our business. They don't even know that this unit are owned by different investors, right? So that's why the maintenance, both in and out, is our priority. And even when you furnish your apartment at first, no one calls you again to change anything. Usually within like 3 to 4 months, we revamp all the shortlet apartments without even calling the owners of the apartment to say, oh, we are changing this. So we do it with our money, then take out the loan. We can sort of like loan the apartment, then take it out in like 6 to 7 months. So that's what we do. So when you pay for your furnishing once, till the business ceases to exist, no one calls you to ask you for a single penny for
Yeah.
maintenance, for changing or anything.
Okay, so I hear you, Mayowa. So this is where I'm going. And it's very clear. I like your response to second and third question. Even though
Okay.
the first one, I'm not really clear about the insurance. I'm not really clear about the direction of the insurance.
Okay, the
But this is where I'm
insurance
going
has
for
been
it.
invested
Sorry,
already.
so
So we have a partnership with an insurance company.
okay, that sounds good. So, like for example, let's say after 6 months, you have AC issue, you have to replace AC, you have to
Yeah.
replace washing machine, you have to replace bed sheet. All those,
Mhm.
are you going to reduce my net income every month because you are doing that?
Like I said, so we're going to like
Yeah,
amount.
of
Every
course.
month there are expenses. Okay, that you want to take that?
Okay, yeah. So this is it. It is when you own an asset, that asset is expected when an asset that generates income. It's expected that that asset can maintain itself just from the cash flows that it generates. So, for example, if there's capex, when a regular company wants to invest in its own business, they will take from their retained earnings, or they take from from just the cash, or they get loans from a bank or something. So here now you cannot loan from a bank, so you have to take from your retained earnings, and that's the reason why your earnings would reduce. So let's say you have, but there's a way we make it very easy for you. So rather than you paying out all of that at once, right? We then spread that, we amortize those payments over, it could be 6 months, it could be 8 months, it could be 9 months, it could be 10 at a applicable interest rate. Okay, that's very on. So even you, when you are getting those returns monthly, you will not know that the you will see that
Variance.
the returns
Variance.
are
Yeah.
fluctuating. Yeah, there's a variance, in what you get monthly. But of course, you will see that when the demand is high in the market, you won't even know that we've made some expenses in maintaining and all of those things. So I think the business is very, very sustainable. That's what we are focused on. We are not running a Ponzi scheme. All right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we
I'm
are
just trying
focused
to.
on yeah, sure. Thank
I'm
you
just
very much.
trying to. I'll give you some
Yeah.
background. So,
Oh, yes.
is it from my side or from your side?
It's
Okay.
not yours. I've muted the person here. Please
Uh,
mute your mic so you're asked to speak. Sorry. We got real quick so I can get us to ask a question. And maybe send a DM, but we can maybe last question and then send a DM just so I can cycle the room. Yeah, go ahead, Minga.
okay. I think he has answered my question. I'm just trying to. Okay, let me allow other people to ask questions. Let me use the mic for now. Thank you.
Okay, it's because I have them for an hour. I want to keep them as long as possible. They've been here for time. Let me get Ice News. We've got Ice News, Bishop, Rocky. Hold on, Ice News. I've got Ade Nubia Diana. Did I get that right? Ade Nubia Diana. He's been here for a long while. I'm not sure if you still want to speak. I don't see any profile picture. Ade, is Ade going to speak? If he's not going to speak, then I'll just get Ice News. Please go ahead. Ice News, you've got the floor. Go ahead. Okay, let's get Rocky. Rocky, go ahead. Rocky.
Can you hear me? I'm here. I'm here. Sorry,
Yes, I can.
apologies.
Please go ahead, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Nice one, Carlo, for what you're doing here and everyone here. So my own is that here we are all talking about money. So to the guys in charge, I want to ask for partnership because I'm into
No, I
hardware
mean, if you want to
installation
do that,
and payment
I can send
service.
him a DM real quick and they can take you on that. Just send him a DM for that, right? Ken, hop right
All
in.
right, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Carlo. Good evening, everyone, to the house, and thanks for the presentations thus far. What I would like to ask the gentleman in the house is the issue about ownership, because when you talk about real estate at the end of the day, ownership is really important. If you might say you have an asset but you don't really own it at the end of the day. And I mentioned, and I've heard them mention, some things about leasing the land, and then building upon it and all that. So, how is ownership managed at the end of the day? Who owns these properties at the end of the day in terms of as legal? When you talk about legal ownership, how is it
Hello,
managed?
hello, 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 hello,
Rocky,
hello,
please
hello.
hold on.
Dear sir, hello.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, I think that's the question. Yeah,
Okay.
ownership is really important. Thank you.
All right. So, all the projects that we're currently selling at the moment, you own it outrightly. The lease that you heard us mention were the models that we started with 2 3 years ago when we couldn't secure financing to buy the lands outrightly. So right now, the lands have been outrightly purchased. Right, it's not a joint venture; it was outrightly purchased, and we'll be transferring ownership through the deed of assignment to all the investors that will be buying into that project.
Okay.
Okay, great, great, great. Thank you. Very,
Ken, are you
very
good?
good stuff. You guys are doing a great stuff.
Thank you
To
very,
be honest, great work, great work. Yeah.
thank you.
All right, let's get Bishop. Bishop, go right ahead.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Kalu. Good evening, everybody. Um, I don't know if my questions had really been tackled earlier. I think I came in a little bit late, but I have two questions for you. One, how quote and unquote regulated are you? How do we know our monies will be safe with you? That's one. Two, like I said, I came in quite late, and the only idea I had about who you guys are was when somebody mentioned Crestview. So I did a quick Google, and it didn't really come up with anything. It was coming up with some foreign, India, American stuff and all that. Because I remember a speaker before me said something, asked about a website. You were silent about it. So if I need to take a decision without really, I understand you can't answer all questions here. Is there a website or where can I go to really take my time, get all the information I need, and decide if this thing is really for me or not? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I guess you didn't Google the right, you didn't get the spelling right. Crestville is Crest, that's Crest, then Ville. Uh, I guess you wrote Ville, so it's Ville,
Can, can,
Villa,
can,
Ville,
can you also
CRE.
share that on the Dromotron or DM me so I can just put it up there?
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So, Jumoke, if you're here, just please send a DM to Mr. Kalu so he can post it. Yeah, and yes, we have a website, so we'll send the link as well. Then you can also check at the construction page. So we have the company that sort of constructs these properties and market.
Okay, I think you
Check us on Instagram, am realty. So am_realty. am_realty. Then the facility management firm that manages the shortlets is Crestville, Crestville. Then the website would be posted. That's crestville.ng. You can check it as well. Then we're sort of like revitalizing the Asset House and AM Realty's website. So it's currently not on right now, but through our Instagram pages, you could sort of see all of our projects, the ones that we delivered and the ones that are currently in operations.
yeah. Also, I
Yeah,
think when
and
you
I think
I know,
on this space, I think on this space, we have had about 10 of our current investors are from Kalu's followers. So if there's anyone here as well before the end of the session, you can also say a word or two.
yeah, I was gonna make talk about that. I know like I said, you've been here for a long time. I think 2 years and 1 year. Just want to talk about what you did, the returns you did for those folks, and how
Yeah,
it's pan. If you just give a good synopsis. I know I brought you in, and some
yeah,
folks sent me DM. They've been impressed. That's why I'm bringing you back again. So you're not a quote unquote fly by night guy.
yeah.
So you guys have been doing the job, and we're pleased to partner with you on that. But you can talk around. what you did in the past, i.e., the leasing side. I think that was very interesting.
Okay, yeah. So our first project was in Ilupejo. So we got the lease for 15 years. We sold the one bed for 7 million, and we sold the two bed for 13 million. So what that means is the 7 million means you're owning the one bed for 15 years, and the 13 million means you're owning the two bed for 15 years. And by the end of this year, every single one of the investors would have broken even. The one bed, I think the all through 2023 and now they've earned an average of 350,000 to 400,000 monthly. And the two beds have been earning between 500 to 600K monthly on a daily rate of 45, 40K to 60K per day. Right. So at the end of this year, 2024, they invested in 2022. They will be breaking even, and for the next 13 years, they will be enjoying profits. Right. Till the end of the 15-year tenure. Then the second project in Surulere was a 23-year lease as well. We sold the one bed for about 14 million, and the investors right now, because of the existing debts that we're trying to like amortize, they should be earning well above 400K, but there was an inflation, and we had to, load in some chunk of money to complete the project. So right now, the return will be stable. The first return was paid last month, which was about 320,000 naira. So we're looking at stabilizing that between say 350 to 400, despite the loan that will be deducted over the period. So the one in Ikeja and the one in Antonio, we are forecasting between 700,000 to 1 million, because it's going to be 5 star, and we'll be charging way more than what we're currently charging in Surulere and Ilupeju.
That's perfect. Good to know. So, guys, we spent more than an hour here. I think it's been fantastic. If you read, well, I want you guys send that stuff to me on DM. I will share. I think I get getting a lot of DMs. People want to know really about you guys. They want to know really and do their own research. It's a very it's a tight economy. Everyone wants to make money, but they want to make sure they're putting it in a place that is, that is real and all that. So I appreciate those sentiments. But guys, they are here on my space. I know them on a personal, even outside the space. They're good. If you want to get into real estate investment, this is a very, very, very low ladder to get into that space. Like you said, you get your incomes monthly. The cost of you getting in is reduced. When they did the leasing, it was well reduced. People got in, people got paid. There's also a way for it to get in. So I'm giving, if it was my own, I know them. Let's put it that way. UC, I've got UC. Bishop, I don't know if they addressed your concerns. If not, send me a DM, Bishop, after this. I'll make sure I get across to you. But Bishop, are you okay?
Yes, I'm okay. Well, I think they didn't answer the first question about regulation. How
Regulation.
regulated are they? Yeah, so that we'll
I
talk
mean,
about housing.
what do I mean? Stockbrokers are regulated. Is there any regulatory for builders? I don't. Is apart from core, which is engineering. What are you looking for when you say regulation? Are you looking for like the company? Maybe are they CAC? Obviously, they are. What would give
No,
you?
no. I'm not talking about the builders, as in, I'm talking about the business aspect. That we sure when we invest, we have them around. They won't just run away and
Gotcha,
all that. Uh-huh. That's what I'm talking
gotcha.
about.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I mean, that's the. I mean, Adebola, in the same Nigeria, you guys should be the ones that are going to be listening on the growth board of the NGX. The growth board. I don't know if you guys are there yet, but this is the second tier market. Isn't it that way where you guys should be the up and coming folks? Be there, be able to raise capital, long term. Imagine if you could get equity capital instead of getting debt capital. I mean, that's a conversation to be had right there.
Hello, Kalu.
Yes.
So I think for the last
is his oneness with us. It's because he looked like us. So this is the Lebanese spirit here, and the Lebanese spirit has just been given and served one glorious, great, grand sacrifice. He passed as one with his people. He's a man who was empowered enough to be wherever he wanted in the planet. We all know that. But he chose to be with his people and thinking about them and what the meeting looked like. I mean, he passed in the most glorious way he could have wished for. And you just you look at the Maidan, you look at the ground at the south, you look at the people, and you look at the solidarity, and you look at how this has really given and served a great blood. I mean, it's like giving a big revival force to the whole idea, to the whole resistance, to the whole ideology. I don't know if it was with you. Last time we spoke, I was talking about paying condolences, maybe with suppressed.
Yeah.
Um, it was after the pager attack, yeah?
Yes, exactly.
So I remember the words of the mother of Mahdi Ammar, the wife of the MP Ali Ammar, when I was paying condolences for the passing of her son in the terrorist pager attack. Um, she told me, no, 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 no. The land needed that blood. You know, our people were getting tired. They were getting bored. They're sick of the fight. That martyrdom, that blood was needed to revive the struggle and the fight. And I'm quoting a mother that had lost the apple of her eye, you know? So imagine what that blood of Sayyid Nasrallah will give this land. This is the only way to think about it, uh, to pass over the sad part of it. But I will tell you, there will not be one day in Lebanon, in the history of Lebanon, and in the future of Lebanon, where Hassan Abdel Karim Nasrallah will not be thought of, talked about, revered. He has passed into something else. He stopped being a political leader. He has passed into something else. And I tell you, later on, when we see why there was no actual commemorate, like why there's no funeral and there's no big parade for his people, why isn't there a big festival, a population actually walking and mourning Nasrallah? Because that day will come, and that will happen only when the Nasrallah grave will be a shrine of victory in Lebanon, a very big shrine in the heart of Lebanon that people would come and visit and pray and say thank you for the victory. So I think we have just, they think they ended the man. It's very naive to think like that. They have just started a legend for Lebanon, for the peoples of the Levant, for anybody who stands against oppression. They have just turned him into a legend that would never die. هيدا السيد.
Thank you so much for speaking so beautifully. Yeah, we all mourned him like little babies. I remember I cried 3 days. It was really really tough on everybody. Anyway, so we know you have only a few minutes left, so we're gonna take Middle East. He actually has a question for you, and then after that we'll go to Joseph, and then yeah, we'll end the discussion with you, and we'll make it an open floor
Actually, I
discussion.
can be after 10:30. I can be with you, but I cannot speak. I can listen only.
That's okay. We'll engage probably with Hadi, Hala, and Middle East during that time. Thank you for your time. Go ahead, Middle East.
First, thank you so much, Ghadi, for joining the space. So it's going to be a follow-up question. So we know that the spirit of the fighters right now is very high, their morale is high, but I want to know how are the people feeling around you, like the civilians? Are they scared? Are they confident in the resistance? So what's the general mood in Lebanon right now?
Well, if I want to be honest, the general mood is not okay. We are at war. Everybody has a different level of anxiety, but we're all anxious. I mean, 1/4 of Lebanon is displaced, is outside their homes, is losing their loved ones. one fourth, like a quarter, 25%, one in every four Lebanese people has been displaced, more or less. So, no, that's the general sentiment. People are trying to, I don't know, people who left very. What happened in the South is so brutal. It's so genocidal. It's so like Israel. They started out of the blue, bombing everywhere in the same second. So everybody had to leave right now without even thinking about it. So nobody had the time to lift their clothes, to get their stuff, to get what they need. They have nothing, and then they just fled. So people are now thinking how to maintain and for how long to maintain themselves wherever they were, whether they're displaced in a public place or in someone's home, or they rented, or they still have their jobs, or they don't. So people do not have, most of the people I'm seeing, the civilians, you're saying civilians, we're all civilians, man. Even even our militants are civilians that are defending their land. We are all civilians. We are just indigenous people. Some men are defending the lands of their grandfathers. Anyways, so but in general, the people I see in my everyday life, everybody's busy trying to relocate or reestablish some kind of routine in the status quo, and everybody is afraid, and everybody feels less safe, less guided, less wise, less enlightened in the absence of Sayyid. Everybody feels whatever was happening, if Said was here, it would be different. So this is also a sentiment that is out there, and we cannot disregard. People feel heartbroken, but it's going to take a few more dinners, like tonight's dinner, for everyone to feel the presence of what Sayyid meant for them. Sayyid is an idea. I mean, I really tried today with my, because I have a kind of way of like decoding the emotions, or like breaking them down. So I was like about to cry, and then I was saying like, why am I crying about someone I have no idea, I've never met, I don't know, I see on the TV, why? And I was thinking, it's the idea that you had that someone, and I think the idea or the void or the loss of Nasrallah will be filled by his men. So every time you see such a dinner like tonight, or what happened in the south like today, or you see Ras al Naqura yesterday, or you see this great spirit in the Lebanese men, and our countrymen, really, in the southern, and in Beqa, and in everywhere, and even in the way we're dealing with all that. So this is Sayyid. So you feel, no, no, no. I'm back to that sentiment of protected, of strong, of capable, of sure, of confident, of that the loss will be later on. Like, we will bring everything back to how it was. We will rebuild everything because we did it once. The more you feel, because it's all in your brain. The more you feel secure as a people, the less anxious, the better. So the Lebanese now are afraid. We are dealing with a genocidal rogue regime that can kill us all anytime. I'm talking to you now. I look at my phone sometimes and I look like it's a matter of time. They can make our phone like a bomb and nobody would ask. Or like this drone above me, it's not personal, but there is a time that where it can be personal. I mean, these are people who kill journalists for a sport every day in Palestine. They have killed more than 170 journalists in Gaza alone. Alone, ya alam. Not to talk like on a day like today, last year, they killed Isam Abdullah, the Reuters cameraman, our fellow, the Reuters journalist, and they killed Farah Omar and Rabia from Mayadeen. They killed three journalists, and they're on a spree, on a killing spree of journalists. So yes, we are taking into consideration that any moment we might die. The only immunity we have is that our parents were like that, and their parents were like that, and we are coming from an ancestral war experience. The Israelis have been trying to annihilate us since they came here. So it's not new. We know how to deal with it, but we're not okay. Everybody's having PTSD in all sorts and shapes. There's no such thing as normal when you are at war.
Of course, but the main point was what I meant maybe is that You know, the goal of assassinating Sayyid Hassan is to make people scared and like feel that maybe Israel is gonna win. So I wanted to see if there's still this confidence that no, we trust the fighters, we trust that the resistance is still okay. So that,
It was shaken.
yeah.
If I don't want to say, I don't want to lie. It was shaken. It's being rebuilt, operation by operation, day by day. The problem here is that the political media speaking arena hasn't been filled. And the political, psychological warfare is very big in the media. So the people need some time to get the vibe of the ground, to get the vibe of what the fighters are doing on the ground. I think such operations like today تثلج صدور قوم مؤمنين قلوب قوم مؤمنين. So these operations will make people feel more confident, like today's dinner, when they see Israeli soldiers paying the price for their displacement, their suffering, etc. No, they will. The belief will be more and more. And there's something, I'm trying to be realistic. I know you want me to tell you people are believing like we're gonna crush them, we're gonna win, but no, this is what I see. I mean, people always are asking me for ma'nawiyat. Wherever I'm at, any place I run into anyone, they're saying, Tell us that we're gonna win. Please tell us that we're gonna win." So I'm like telling them that we're gonna win and giving them facts and quoting Israeli media and numbers and here and the soldiers don't want to fight. Mirkavas are burning. Look at that. Look at this. It takes time. Yes, we might lose a battle, but we didn't lose the war. And you start giving them different tools in looking at this and decoding this. There is no resistance that would lose in the end. But the morale wasn't so great. I think now the morale will start getting better, to be realistic. And the problem is Middle East. The problem is the politics inside, the political people, the political figures, and the politics inside Lebanon. Many people are like, okay, Hezbollah's done. Let's build on that. Let's change the system. Let's go ahead. So that is also reviving or like making people scared. Like, okay, are we done now? Is like these three, four Lebanese politicians, are they really dealing with Lebanon as if there's no Hezbollah and Said Nasrallah is not here? So no, people are not stable because of the domestic politics that is being shared about that as well. I think after today's operation, just like Hala said, it changes a lot. We're going to start seeing everything changing after that dinner party that Hezbollah hosted for the Israeli soldiers in their dinner hall in their military base.
Brady, and
A little bit of
also
breaking news, if I
it's
may.
important to remember, Lahza, it's important to remember that Sayyid was, if you want, the medium between him and those on the ground, the resistance. He was the anchor and the medium. So people were used to him telling them how things are going. Now that voice has gone. Yes, there will be others that will take over it shway shway. So this was a first test for the people who had to turn, not to say it, to get the brief, had to turn to the ground, to the battlefield itself. And now the battlefield is beginning to feed them, and now it will rebuild their confidence. So they're going now straight to the source, Isabel. I think. This is my 2 cents of how to sort of look at it sometimes. Yeah.
Exactly. I was thinking if we live to see a figure like a Lebanese Abu Ubaidah, like a militant that is speaking to the people, that would be something else. Ah, what breaking news? Now I am anxious. What
So
happened?
during a Israeli infiltration into Markaba, the Lebanese army is fighting side by side, kitaf ila kitaf, with Hezbollah against the Israeli occupying forces that are trying to enter the border.
Allah, Allah.
And the equation has officially been completed of people, resistance, and army in South
Wow.
Lebanon.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Oh,
Well, of
Ghadi,
course,
if
That's
we
it
some
has always
amazing
been like that.
Ghadi,
news.
if we did have a militant, he'd probably be Abu Ali. No, so
Thank you for that. I know you don't have much time, Ghadi, so we're just going to take Joseph right before you go. Joseph, if you want to go ahead, he's been waiting patiently. Joseph. Okay, Joseph, you have
Joseph,
five
whose hand
seconds.
is raised.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
think
him?
he's away. Can I jump in?
Fell asleep. Yes, go ahead, First Blood, in the
Yes,
meantime.
go ahead
All right.
first.
Thank you, Sabras. Thank you, Madris, for hosting the space, and thank you, Ghadi, for everything you said. Yani, I never talk about my religion or whatever, but I'm a fellow Christian like you, and your voice makes me proud in the West because we don't get to hear it often. We only get to hear those who gave up, those who want to normalize with the Zionists, and those who are like literally Zionists, right? But they masquerade themselves as Lebanese, and they spread this, spoke about the psychological war and this propaganda war, which is a huge part after such a hit, right? Assassinating our leader and father figure, like you said. And they thought of crushing Hezbollah, but Hezbollah now, according to a lot of military analysis all around the world, are surprised by the resistance that they are put on because they estimate that any military structure in the world that would get hit in the same way by assassinating their leadership, they would crumble. But Hezbollah did not crumble, and they only escalated their attacks. Today, we've seen a video released of the Khaybar operations, which are very significant, and the Israeli media are describing today as one of the toughest days since the beginning of this war. So the war is in its early stage. But my question to you is your steadfastness that you showcase throughout your videos and all of your interventions, and I follow them. This steadfastness, what can you tell? Because now today the Israelis is betting, I believe, on the internal divisions of the country, right? Um, they're allowing, I mean, we have unfortunately some medias inside and outside that are spreading Zionist propaganda. How important is your role as an independent journalist in this psychological war going on, and what are your thoughts about it?
Well, to tell you, first of all, thank you for your appreciation. And it really is way empowering when someone says, like, you're voicing me, Ghadi, because the amount of war that they carry on us, uh, anyone who's actually active is not easy. And right now I'm like in the in the process of one of these psychological warfares. You're asking me how important it is what we do. I didn't really know until the Israelis actually spared me some time on an electronic character assassination warfare in the past week. So it looks like, yes, we're really hurting them by existing and by voicing anti the narrative, and just maybe the voice of a woman without a veil, whose last name is just like the Pope's name, and speaking pro resistance is not great for the narrative, especially that I voice it in English and that people like they can break that taboo or that stigma or like that stereotype of what people look like if they are pro-resistant. um it's what we're doing is we're talking to other people, and we believe in our cause, and we believe in humanity, and we believe in the good of humanity, and we are just we're not the people carrying the war. I mean, we are the people on the ground. Other people are coming in the tanks and the planes. So it is not very hard to bridge and communicate and network with other people, with other activists from all around the world, and to talk about your issue. And people are being more and more aware, especially using these platforms. What we're doing is important because we're talking to each other. We're reminding each other that we're together no matter what happens. Yes, there is a big fear, Joseph, about the internal stability. Yes, it is a fear that is growing in my brain and my heart every day because I worry about my people. I worry about everyone. I worry about the Christians and the Shia and the Sunnah and the Durzi and the sectarian and the secular equally, and the people that I agree with and that I disagree with equally. And this is actually the drive that makes you work in this field. There's nothing worthy enough of you putting your life in danger if it didn't really cost more than your life. What I do, I look at it as more important than my own self, because it's for my people or my country. Or so it's not easy, it is dangerous, and the stability is in danger. But my bet is that in the 80s, and also here Hala would add after I stop, um, there was even more divisions, and they were even more empowered internally and there was like they were in the civil war, and still they didn't manage to turn it into a bloodshed. Alhamdulillah, this time we are aware, the resistance is aware, the people are standing in anti that narrative. So we hopefully can resist any sectarian division or internal civil unrest they would definitely try to induce.
Hopefully, and when you said that
Thank
you
you.
should verify the information 7 times before you talk about it, I would suggest to follow the people of the land. Ghadi, Hala, Haidar, Suppressed, Middle East Observer, obviously, the people of the land that love their country and view the Israeli as the enemy. Because no matter what political differences we might have on the ground, when it comes to war, we're all on the same side.
Ghadi, can I say something?
Thank you so
Can I
much, First Blood.
can I say something directly to Ghadi?
Sorry, Haidar. Hedi, I think she has to go soon. Hedi, do you have any more time or do you have to drop off?
Well, I'm listening to you guys. Actually, I have to be somewhere on Zoom, and I cannot really
Hmm.
talk, but I can be listening. So
Okay.
I can talk for
Okay.
like few more minutes while I prepare everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
If there's
Okay.
just a wrap up, I'm
Okay.
here.
There,
Haidar, try to make it quick because I know Joseph wanted to say something. He's been very patient. So go
yeah.
ahead.
There's no response needed, Ghadi. But I just wanted to
Can you
tell
hear me?
you, I've seen a. Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay. Um, so I wanted to first ask
He's
about
talking.
the Tel Aviv.
Joseph, can you hear Haider?
Yes, I can. Thank you. I wanted to first ask because the Haifa isn't the only place
Can
where
you hear us, Joseph?
I can hear you.
Yeah, 1 second. Haider was speaking, and then we'll go straight to you. Go ahead, Haider.
So, Ghadi, I was just going to say to you, yani, there's no response that's needed, but I've caught you on a couple of interviews lately on Arab TV, on Arab media, and you're always smiling, you always are laughing, even when the other, typically when it's males also that are kind of look tense and awkward, right? And I think the other day they came to you and they said, "عشو يعني عشو عم تضحكي?" Why are you laughing? But it's the confidence that you had both in yourself as well as in the resistance as well as in the people. So yes, we may not, as a resistance, have a spokesperson per se, but the people are the spokespeople of the resistance. I know there's no resistance without its people. So continue to do what you do. We appreciate what you do. We appreciate the confidence that you bring to everybody from different ethnicities and sects. And at the end of the day, this is all our fight together. So thank you. And I just wanted to relay that message to you.
Thank you, Haidar.
Yeah.
Thank you, Haida. That's so sweet. Actually, yeah, we laugh because I can only see how uninformed they are when they start to attack. When someone comes from the beginning, I mean, we are at war. Give us the benefit of the round, ya khayi. We are in the beginning of the beginning of the beginning of the war. When someone comes and tells me you are defeated without even looking at the ground or the facts, I could tell directly that he's a lazy person sitting all day in front of Al Arabiya, Al Hadath Arabiya, and and listening to 3 4 Facebook videos and coming to tell me what's happening in my country and that I'm being defeated. I get triggered. But when I look at them, I feel like they're too lame to be triggered. And then I laugh. I mean, what am I gonna tell this man? He's telling me I'm defeated, and there's 300 rockets that day. There were 300 rockets on separate targets in Israel. I mean, give us the benefit of let the rockets end, يا خيي. Let us say we have no rockets and then tell me I'm defeated. شو بك؟ يعني they're very hasty, and they're rushing themselves, and they're looking caricaturish. So that was why they were funny, Haidar, actually. I mean, Yeah.
غادي من الاخر حيدر عم بيقول لك انه بدنا نسمعك وبدنا نضلنا نشوفك ان شاء الله، لانه انت مثل الارزه تبعتنا بتضلك شامخه عليهم كلهم. ف hopefully we can listen to you and
تسلم،
talk to
بس
you
انا ما
more and
عرفت
more.
مين عم
You
يحكي، ما
are
عم ببين معي مين
amazing.
عم.
We love you.
First blood.
Hi, First Blood. Shukran, shukran. Thank you, guys. That was a great space, and it's always great to talk with all of you. Suppressed, great to have you here. And Middle East Observer, thank you. I really follow everything you do on Telegram and everywhere.
Thank you.
Keep doing everything you're doing. All of us collectively, we are all together filling the void. And this is why all of us collectively, we are telling them that no matter who you assassinate, the spirit of of this people is like, oh my God, you've assassinated all our leaders. If you look back, and we've only grew stronger, more persistent, more eloquent in advocating for our cause. We used to have one Ghassan Kanafani, one. One only was speaking to everyone. Look at the Palestinians today in every language, in every place, in every arena. And look at Beirut. They came in the 82 to Beirut, to Hamra. They reached here. And we had one Khalid Alwan. One man, one boy. He was 20-year-old something. An angry university student. One man. One gun. Only for a city. It started and sparked a whole resistance scene that ended up by the Israeli tanks and 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 the speaker saying, "Oh, people of Beirut, stop shooting. We are going out. Oh, people of Beirut, stop shooting. We are going out. يا أهالي بيروت لا تطلقوا النار إننا راحلون." This is in the 80s and we had a gun. So look at us with Fadi. One, two, three, Imad. One, two, three, four, you know, and والحبل على الجرار. So don't believe anyone who tells you you're defeated. No way.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure having you. We know you have to go. So if you want to listen, you know we're going to be talking a little bit more. I had a question for Middle East Observer. Are you there, Middle East?
Yes.
Thank you, by the way, Ghadi. Appreciate it. Thank you for
Thank you,
joining.
Ghadi.
Thank you all. Yes, I will stay with you on the
Okay.
stage for a while and then disappear. It's great. Let's all keep working together because I think we're showing them how أهالي بيروت وفلسطين وسوريا والعراق رح يضلوا يطلقوا النار ليرحلوا على الآخر بالشخطورة. آخر شي هيدي لازم نقولها بالعربي أحسن ما نطلع على شي محكمة. عشتم وعاش لبنان. يلا. Later on, see you again next time. Thank you, everyone.
See you.
See you,
Thank you,
Hadi.
Ghadi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
thank you,
Okay,
Middle
Middle
Eastern,
East
for allowing
Observer.
us to have like such a platform where, you know,
Yes.
the voices of the land are being promoted. So I appreciate the space a lot.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Middle East. Okay, I'm going to ask you two questions, Middle East. Number one, what outcome is Israel trying to achieve by waging a propaganda war on Hezbollah?
Okay, it's a good question. So, um, if you want to think about it like the old ancient times, let's say in the medieval times, when there's a battle, they used to send spies into the castle to try to divide people, make people doubt their king. So it's the same idea that they're doing now. So if you remember at the beginning of the war in October, they were saying that Hezbollah in Lebanon abandoned Hamas and they're doing a fake war, like that they were shooting towers and doing nothing. So the goal was to divide the ranks between the Palestinians and Lebanese and to make them doubt each other. Now they were doing this just the same thing between Lebanon and Iran. So to make the Lebanese people think that Iran abandoned them. So that's the goal of their media wars, and they do it. They're funny. They do it like they talk on our behalf. So they say Iranian sources or Iranian officials told Reuters, but they don't, or Hezbollah officials told Reuters, but none of these actually talk to these Western outlets. They make their own statements in their own platforms. But the point is to make people doubt their leadership and their alliances. So that's the goal of the media, one part of the goal of the media war. And right now, Al Arabiya, the Saudi channel, like out of nowhere, right now they want to release a documentary on who killed Hariri in Lebanon. Uh, like it's obvious that the goal is to incite people against the resistance in the middle of the war. So that's how they work. They work all together with some of the Arab media channels that are pro American and with Israel.
Yeah,
Just
Netanyahu basically threatened us last week. Sorry, I'm just going to quickly chime in. He basically said either you kill each other or we'll kill you. So it's very obvious what agenda they have planned. Go ahead, First Blood.
No, I mean, just to add up to what Middle East was saying, I mean, it's very clear that they are like the psychological warfare that has been going on is unprecedented. This is the first time that Netanyahu came out and made a video pretty much addressing the Lebanese, right? And he was saying, pretty much what he said to whenever he invaded Gaza, like, "Oh, I'm not coming to for everybody. I'm coming only for Hamas." And he's doing the same thing with Hezbollah. Just like if Hezbollah was like a foreign entity, Hezbollah is from the womb of the people of the land. Um, so, do is like the thing is like these things are unprecedented. And we had a guy that was apparently an Iranian guy addressing the Iranian people, not even in Farsi but in English, to advise them to pretty much rise up against the Islamic Republic, right? So it seems like Netanyahu is aiming at pretty much disturbing the acts of the resistance from within rather than going into full confrontation. Does that mean that on the ground for now it's not looking very good for them? How do you read the situation? If you can add up to that, Middle East, I would appreciate it.
I think no matter what, they're going to do these things, whether it's going good or not. They will do it regardless. The propaganda and to divide people. So it's not really related to what's happening on the ground, in my opinion. Like they've been doing it since the beginning.
Okay, thank you. Can you guys hear me? I don't know if it just
Yeah.
cut out or if you're done answering the
Yeah,
question.
no, we can
Okay.
hear you.
Okay, Middle East, one more question for you. You've made a lot of predictions, and so far they have been very, very accurate. A lot of us are impressed. So, at this point, what is the next phase we should expect to go into at this point of the war?
I think, like Ghadi said, at some point they will enter deeper into Lebanon. But so this war is not a war that can end with like a decapitation strike and end suddenly with one event. So it's an attrition warfare, and it's the side that can sustain the longer than the other that will win in the end. So our side, obviously, we will have more civilian casualties because of their airplanes, but in the end, we are the natives of the land, and the resistance fighters are going, all in. They're not gonna surrender. So, in my opinion, it's in the end the Israeli army will have to stop their operations, but it will take time. Like they need more, like Ghadi said, more dinners like tonight. But eventually, the more time passes, the more Israelis have casualties over time on all sides, like in their economy, in the social life, and militarily. So in all these sides together, all this attrition, at some point, Israel is gonna have to stop the war. That's what I think. On our side, we're we're going all in. Like if they want to end us, they have to kill everyone in the end. So like Gaza, after 1 year, they're not gonna surrender now. After losing all these, like after all the destruction, after everything, they're not gonna surrender. So either they kill every one of us, or Israel itself has to stop, and this is what's going to happen. But it's gonna take time.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, do we have any questions?
Yes, I have a
I
question.
actually have to. I actually need to go, but I wanted to thank you both, Middle East and Sheldon, for hosting the space. It's appreciated, and hopefully I can catch up with you guys soon.
Thank you,
Thank
Suppress, for
you.
being here. I want to take Ali Musa. He's been waiting quite some time, so go ahead, Ali.
I have 1 hour listening, and that I want to send a message for Ghadi. I don't know if she's listening.
Yes,
She
she's
said she
listening.
was
Yeah.
listening, yes.
Please, Ghada, if you're listening, only said yes. It's okay.
Go on, mate. Go on. It's
She
Ghadi.
can't speak. She can't speak, but you can go ahead. She can hear you.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I wanna let me wait to because I wanna let me be sure that she's listening to me because I'm talking from here from
Oh,
Venezuela. Venezuela.
okay, no problem.
It's okay.
No problem. We'll wait a little bit. We're gonna take Azim next.
For taking me. I'm from Pakistan, and I've been following Ghadi for a long time, for many years now, and it's great seeing how she reports. I'm not sure if she can speak, but there's like Shias against the war, which was one uh, social media Shia group which is against Iran and Hezbollah, and then there is others like peace groups and Save Lebanon, basically groups that say that Hezbollah should not enter the war. I mean, they started 1 year ago. But one important thing he outlined is that the thrust now in Lebanon for some time has been to use Christians, mainly like Lebanese forces, to direct it against the Shiites. And this is something that is becoming very concerning. It might also cause something like a small civil war. So, can anybody shed light into it? If this,
Azim, you're following Western propaganda. You're citing
sorry.
a Western source that is pro Zionist, that is literally helping the Zionist psychological warfare. The Lebanese force you're talking about are significant in Lebanon, literally insignificant. If you look at the 2018 um, votes that happened, they barely got anything. Some of the peoples on this space have more followers than the votes that they got. So don't fall in this. Like there's a massive, like I said, it's. I mean, Middle East thinks that it's they would have done this regardless of the outcome of the war. And I agree, still in the early stages, but don't fall for any Western narrative propaganda because that's what it is.
Okay,
Okay,
we're
but
gonna
I
take
mean,
Nana.
okay.
Sorry, we only have 10 more minutes. Sorry if I'm interrupting, but we're gonna wrap this up in 10 minutes. We want to take Nana. Go ahead, Nana.
Thank you so much. It's not a question. أنا بس حابة لكم إنه عن جد أنتم شباب وصبايا. For anyone that understands Arabic, you know the audience I'm speaking to. أنتم بترفعوا الراس, and I am so proud that you guys are representing us, Lebanese, Arab, Shia, Sunni, Muslim, Christian, atheist, whatever it is. All of you, especially Ghada, listening to you today, it is absolutely inspiring. As a young Lebanese American woman who sits here and cries, looking at home and looking at my family and looking at all of it, I swear بترفعوا الراس. So thank you all so much. Allah يحميكم, and I'm so happy we have you guys to represent us.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
Nana.
that. You're so sweet. Okay, did anybody else have a question? Haidar, please go ahead. You had your hand up.
Thank you. It wasn't a question, it's just more so a conversation with Middle East. I just don't you find it ironic that in the beginning of this war they criticized Hezbollah for taking out the ISRs along the border, and they said they were hitting towers, They said that, these were shawarma towers that they had, and there's no insignificant damage. And then once they moved past this stage, they said, well, the Katyushas aren't doing anything. And then had that once they moved past the stage of Haifa, they said, well, look, there's now damage. Yani, to me, look, the critics are going to remain critics even if there's a flag planted inside of Jerusalem. So, for me personally, I stopped listening to them because channels like Al Hadas or Al Arabiya, it's known since 2015 they have spoken ill against a certain segment of the Lebanese people, and in fact, certain governments in that fund them in 2015 and 2016 even offered the Israelis money to start a war in Lebanon and offered to pay for the rebuilding of Israel before Lebanon. So these are the entities that are collaborating in all of this. So regardless of what they say or how they say it, it's the same narrative. For me, I'm just curious to know if certain places and certain Arabs are going to be passing out sweets tonight, like they passed out sweets when Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah was assassinated. The other thing that I want to know, or not know that, but I just want to highlight and point out that the 35th operation of the day was officially announced by the resistance in Lebanon, a new record for them. The same day that in the morning Gallant came out and said that Hezbollah's capabilities have been reduced to only 20 and 30%, and that they are nearly defeated, and that they have no capacity to continue, and it's only a matter of time. They're no longer an organization. And there's still about an hour left in the day, so you never know. The number could go up. But that's just me wanting to, from a dialogue standpoint, to put that out there. Don't listen to the Arab media. Don't listen to the Western media. Listen to the people from the region and the voices that haven't lied to you, which is the resistance voices. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ali, this is going to be recorded, so Ghadi will be able to hear it after if you want to say anything.
Yes, I have a. Yes, okay, it's okay. I have 1 hour waiting, but it's okay. I want to send a message first. Thank you for Middle East and all of you that give me space to give my opinion. Yes, we have to resist, and we have Christian, Muslims, Druze people. We have to stay unit. We have to don't listen to any kind of media because they are making a lot of disturb, and we have to help each other in this war. And this message I want to send it to Ghada. Listen, I am from Venezuela and أنا كتير هاي بالعربي بدي أقولها. أنا متابعك من زمان. يعني أنت فخورة. أنا فخور، مش بس أنا وأهلي دايما بنتفرج دايما على المحاضرات اللي بتعمليها وبنشوفك على التلفزيون. يعني أنت فخر الإنسانية، ما تعتلي هم شو بينكتب على تويتر وما بينكتب على شيء. كلمة الحق بدها تنقال. لك يا ريتك لك والله اذا بقول لك انت بالقلب، ولك لو في اتجوزك ما كنت ما لو لك انت بالروح دايما 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 انت الصداقه وانت الاخلاص بذاته. يعني شو بعد في يقول اكثر من هيك؟ ما بمني قادر. يعني مش فارقه معي مسيحيه مسلمه درزيه، ما بتفرق معي لانك صاحبه كرامه. بس انت امراه ذو شخصية قوية ولامعة ومع الحق دايما وأبدا. نحن فخورين فيكي وبكل بنت بتمثل لبنان مثلك انت، بشخصيتها وبحبها للوطن، وما إلى حياد لا كان للمسيحي أو للمسلم. لو كلمتها كلمة حق. هذا كل شيء اللي بدي أقوله. و I love you from يعني من أريح قلبي يا غادة. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ali. Nadeem, do you want to go ahead? We have 6 minutes.
I mean, how do you top that? He said what we are all thinking. Ghada, he really summed it up. But just know,
We are all with you, inshallah. And don't let this, the bot comments get into your head. It doesn't seem like they do anyway. And just know that we're playing the long game, and this is for everybody. We are in the long game here, right? No matter how much BS they've done it in the past year in Gaza, and we saw they hit Tel Aviv just a few days ago, and they just haven't accomplished anything, and they won't accomplish anything. No matter how many fake videos they put, no matter how many forces they attack, no matter how many children they hit, it's just not going to accomplish anything. And at the end of the day, they're going to go back to the table crying. And that's just the simple fact of it. And bots don't win wars. It's as simple as that. Thank you, Ghada, for all the work that you do. Thank you, Middle East Observer, Shad, and everybody. You guys are the independent media. You guys are the independent journalists that are not only putting your life on the line, you're putting your name on the line and everything. And we all appreciate you so much. We love you so much. We support you all the way. Thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you so much for your kind words. We have
Thank you,
4 minutes
Nadim.
if anybody wants to. See, Ghadi heard everything. She's sending hearts for Ali and Nadim. Okay, if anybody else wants to go ahead, we have HK who hasn't spoken yet, and Joseph. We have 4 minutes. Please go ahead.
I wanted I wanted to ask
Go
about
ahead,
the
HK.
second.
Oh, sorry.
I wanted to
Joseph, go
ask about
ahead,
the
but
second.
please raise your voice because your
Okay,
voice is very low. If you can please speak up.
I wanted to ask about the second security breach in Tel Aviv too. There are two, and there are reports of an assassination of their chief of army staff. So, what do you think about it? I wanted to ask Middle East about this.
Did anybody
Did
get
this
that?
happen now? To be honest, I'm not reading the news right now because I'm in the space, so I'm not sure exactly what's been happening the past hour.
There has been a second breach in Tel Aviv, I think. Two in Haifa, one in Tel Aviv. So I wanted to ask about Jaffa.
She's asking
Yeah.
about the security incident earlier in Tel Aviv.
Uh, to be honest, I'm not sure. I didn't follow this one up.
Okay, we will discuss it in the next space.
Yeah.
HK, can you please go ahead? We will have a space probably in 3 or 4 days, inshallah. Go ahead, HK.
So, thanks for the space, Middle East, and Shed, and that's also pressed before. I just wanted to quickly reiterate what Hadi said before about the psychological warfare and these videos that they post that can be so demoralizing. I saw a statement from some Zionist media claiming that Hezbollah has lost 60 to 70% of its firepower, that Hezbollah's leadership has all been eliminated. And yet, just this morning's attack completely dismantled that propaganda. I mean, it highlights Hezbollah's advanced intelligence capabilities and the sophisticated weaponry it has preserved. It signals to Israel that it faces two options: that there's a likely their ground invasion will fail, and so I just think that yes, it can be really frustrating, Ladi. It's hard. Trust me, like I force myself to stop trolling them on a daily basis. But that operation alone this morning, I'm sure that it's going to increase the steadfastness of the resistance and their supporters and boost the morale that this so-called resistance group that has lost its 60 to 70% of its firepower can do something so significant as what they did this morning. So yeah, I just wanted to make that statement, really. Not a question, just more of a just stay positive, because yes, it is, like Nadim said, it's a long war. It's going to be we're going to see some ups and downs, but humbly, I think that we, the resistance, we have the hearts and minds, and we will win. We will. I don't know. I just wanted to stay positive.
Do you want to chime in, Middle East? I feel that's something good for you to chime in on.
Well, yes, definitely. So, like I've said before, the capabilities clearly they're still there, and the difference between Lebanon and Gaza is that the cost of maintaining the operations is in Lebanon is maybe 10 times higher than Gaza because of what Hezbollah has. So it's just a question of how long they can stay inside Lebanon and how long they can tank all these losses.
Well, what we know already is based on the objectives they set, right? And the objectives they set is they want to bring the settlers back up, and they want to push the resistance north of the Litani River, right? That wouldn't really accomplish anything because I could tell you in good confidence right now that all the long range missile capabilities that the resistance in Lebanon has are nowhere near South Lebanon. So even if you were to push them to Beirut, right, you really wouldn't accomplish anything because those missiles would still be able to be fired from Lebanon. So they have already failed by setting those specific objectives, just like they failed in Gaza by setting the objectives as we want to eliminate Hamas, right? And here we are a year later and more, and they haven't been able to accomplish that. All they do is just slaughter innocent civilians, as we all know. But the objectives are not there. The economic power is weakening over this past year. They have lost billions of dollars, and their partners, their benefactors, have lost billions of dollars, and this is becoming an extremely expensive investment for their partners. And that's really where you're going to see things begin to change, where it becomes less beneficial to continue this conflict, and that's where you're going to see the tides change.
Sorry
Thank
to
you so
comment
much.
about.
Thank you so much,
Can
everybody.
I
Yeah, go
say,
ahead. Last question, but we have to go. Please make it
okay,
quick.
just about what Nadim said. So basically, Israel is like a Western military base. Okay, it's like a business for the West, and now the cost of maintaining this business is a lot bigger than the benefits. So at some point, like you will have a lot of Western countries, like for example France, Spain, and other countries that are saying like we have to do an arms embargo on Israel because it's beginning to be too costly for us to maintain them and to support them. And at some point, it will be the same for the U.S. And when this point will come, and I think it will come sooner than we think, it will be the end of Israel. Okay. Can I say one more thing about today's operation? I think this operation is very, very important. It's similar to the operation that Hezbollah did in 2006 when they hit the military boat. And this type of operations are the operation that will make Israel go on its knee sooner also than we expect. And you will have like a lot of similar operation in the following days. And at the end of the day, it will be the one that will support more the war that will win the war. So this is what also Middle East said, that the one that will say I at the first is the one that will lose the war. And I think Israel do not have the capacity that we have to support all this like difficulties and these losses.
Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who joined us. We will have a very special space, inshallah, in 3 or 4 days. We'll announce who the guest will be. We would love to have you again, Ghadi. It was a great space, and we'll talk soon. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day and a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
guys
you.
very
Bye bye,
much.
Rada. Bye, Rada. Bye.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.